Hello there. If you've ever found yourself wondering, what else could I have done? This video is for you. You changed. You tried harder. You became more patient, more giving, more attractive, more understanding. You walked on eggshells just to keep the peace. You silenced your needs to avoid pushing them away. And yet, they still pulled back. Still left, still said, it's not you, it's me. And now you're stuck with that hollow ache, the one that whispers, maybe if I had just been a little better, they would have stayed. But here's the truth. It was never about you not being enough, because someone who truly wants to stay won't make you earn it. They won't need you to shape-shift into something smaller or sweeter. Trying to be better doesn't create real love. So what actually does? The idea that you can earn someone's love by becoming more perfect is not only false, it's dangerous. It creates a mindset where love becomes a performance, not a connection. You start editing yourself, hiding your feelings, making yourself smaller just to be more acceptable. You overanalyze every word, every silence, every shift in their tone, thinking if you just try harder, they'll finally choose you. But real love doesn't work that way. Love that lasts isn't earned like a promotion. It's not conditional on your looks, behavior, or emotional control. It's chosen freely, consistently, and without performance. What actually helps is shifting your focus inward. Not how do I keep them, but how do I stop losing myself? Because love isn't about convincing someone to stay. It's about becoming so rooted in your truth that only the ones who truly see you stay willingly. And the first thing that you have to admit is that you were never meant to perform for love.
Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught, directly or indirectly, that love must be earned, that being loved isn't something you deserve just for being yourself, but something you win by becoming better. So we learn to adapt, to be more agreeable, to speak softer, to show less need, less emotion, less burden. We learn to be pleasant, low maintenance, always chill, always understanding, even when we're hurting inside. We start treating relationships like a test we have to pass. If I'm smart enough, funny enough, attractive enough, emotionally stable enough, maybe they'll stay. Maybe they'll finally see me as worthy of love. But that's not love. That's performance. And performance love is always exhausting, always fragile. Because if someone only wants the edited, filtered, perfectly behaved version of you, they never loved you in the first place. They loved the character you were forced to play. Worse, when you live in that mode long enough, you start attracting people who prefer it that way. People who benefit from your silence. People who need you to be small so they can feel big. People who like the fact that you don't complain, don't question, don't express too much. It becomes a cycle. The more invisible your needs, the more they're ignored. The more you abandon yourself, the more others do too. Eventually, something inside you starts to ache, not because you weren't enough for them, but because you've been disconnected from your real self for so long. And here's the truth. You were never meant to audition for love. You were never supposed to earn your place in someone's life by being less difficult or easier to deal with. Love, real love, isn't a transaction. It's not a reward for perfect behavior. It's a connection that grows when both people feel safe enough to be fully seen. So if you feel like you're constantly performing, constantly adjusting, constantly shrinking just to keep someone interested, that's not love. That's a survival strategy. And it will never lead you to the kind of relationship your soul is actually craving. You don't need to be better. You need to be you. And the right people, the real ones, will not only handle that, they'll cherish it. So the lesson you should learn is that love isn't a reward for self-improvement. There's nothing wrong with wanting to grow. Self-awareness, emotional maturity, learning how to communicate better, all of that matters. But when your growth is driven by fear, the fear of being abandoned, rejected, or not enough, it's no longer true growth. It becomes a performance, a survival strategy, a quiet way of saying, "Please stay. Look how much I've changed for you." But here's the hard truth. If you're only growing so someone else will choose you, it's not growth. It's a transaction. And it almost always leads to resentment, because no matter how much you improve, it will never feel like enough. That's the trap. Thinking that love is something you earn by becoming more impressive, more calm, more giving, more secure. But real love doesn't require you to become someone else. Real love is what happens when you finally become yourself, fully, unapologetically. When you grow from within because you want to feel more at peace in your skin, more clear about your values, more honest in your life, it creates freedom. You stop obsessing over how others perceive you. You stop editing your truth just to be accepted. You stop clinging to people who only loved the mask. Because someone who's meant for you won't ask you to dim your light just to make them more comfortable. They won't need you to fix every flaw before they decide you're worthy of staying. They'll love you in your evolution, not in spite of, not because of, but with it, side by side. It's easy to confuse personal development with worthiness, but you are already worthy. Growth isn't what makes you lovable. It's what makes you more aligned with who you've always been beneath the layers of fear, doubt, and overthinking. So yes, grow, heal, learn, but do it for you. Do it because you want peace, not because you want to keep someone from walking away. Because if they'll only love you when you've perfected every part of yourself, it's not love. It's conditional acceptance. And the person who's meant to love you won't be waiting for the final version of you. They'll want the real thing, now.
Instead of tightening every screw in your personality and repainting each flaw to look better, experiment with something radical. Try being real. That means letting the imperfect parts breathe. It means canceling the internal PR campaign that's always spinning, "If I look stronger, calmer, prettier, they'll choose me." Authenticity is not laziness, it's courageous precision. You decide to offer what is true rather than what is strategically polished. That choice instantly lowers the background hum of anxiety because you're no longer waiting for applause on a version of yourself you secretly know is only half honest. To live that way, pause and check in. Am I changing out of fear or out of love for myself? Fear-based change whispers, "Fix this or you'll be abandoned." Love-based change says, "Grow here because your future self deserves relief." The diagnostic is simple. After the change, do you feel relief and expansion or tightness and exhaustion? Use that feeling as your compass. Then draw boundaries like invisible fences around the parts of you that still heal. Boundaries aren't walls to keep love out. They're valves that control its pressure, preventing leaks that drain your energy. Real help looks like tending wounds you used to hide under performance. It's booking therapy not so you'll seem well-adjusted, but so you can actually sleep at night. It's journaling your anger so it becomes language instead of silent poison. It's learning to say, "I need," without apologizing. These small acts stitch you back together. They signal to your nervous system that you're a safe home, not a battlefield. When you show up as you are, scars visible, standards intact, you become startlingly clear. And clarity is magnetic. People can finally read your signal without decoding layers of pretend. That's when the right people recognize you. They don't applaud the mask, they resonate with the frequency underneath. Love becomes real, not rehearsed, because both of you are speaking in original voices. The wrong audience fades, the right one steps forward. And you realize the myth was never "be better so they'll stay," but "be true so the ones who stay are better for you." Now, let me give you a short story example for you to understand what I was talking about.
You did everything right. You listened deeply, even when it was exhausting. You showed up on days when you felt drained. You cared openly, sometimes even more than you thought you could. You stayed up late to support them, putting their needs above your own comfort. You believed in the relationship with every fiber of your being. They told you, "You're amazing," and you held on to those words like a lifeline. They seemed to appreciate you, maybe even love you, or so you thought. But then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, they began to fade away. Calls became less frequent, messages took longer to come, invitations stopped, the warmth turned into distance. And despite all your efforts, despite all your rightness, they left. That's a pain that cuts deep because it's wrapped in confusion and self-doubt. You wonder, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? The truth is simpler and yet harder to accept. They weren't ready. Or maybe they were never really in. Sometimes people come into our lives not to stay, but to teach us something. Sometimes their presence is temporary, no matter how genuine it felt. No amount of perfection, no endless giving, no superhuman patience can hold someone who doesn't want to stay. Love isn't a puzzle to solve by being better. It's a connection that flows freely between two willing hearts. When one side is not ready, the best you can do is let go, with compassion for yourself and for them. Because your worth isn't measured by someone else's ability to stay. You are enough exactly as you are, whether they stay or go. And when the right person comes along, they'll stay, not because you tried harder, but because they want to.
So, what did we learn in the end? Stop trying to earn love through performance. Stop believing that if you just become better, calmer, sweeter, more accommodating, the wrong person will finally stay. Because here's the hard truth. Love isn't something you have to prove. It's not a test you pass by ticking off boxes or fixing every flaw. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. Your worth is already there, steady, unshakable, and independent of anyone's approval. What you do need is to protect that worth, to guard your heart from people who only want the version of you that fits their convenience. The right person doesn't require convincing or performances. They don't wait for you to fix yourself. They meet the real you, messy,
complicated, perfectly imperfect, and choose to stay. Until that person comes, your most important job is simple. Come home to yourself. Build a relationship with you that doesn't depend on external validation. Learn to trust your own voice, honor your feelings, and stand firmly in your truth. Because when you love yourself fully, you stop chasing love that isn't meant for you. You stop shrinking to fit someone else's idea of better. And that's when real love can find you, not because you performed for it, but because you lived honestly for it. You are enough. Always have been, always will be. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care of yourself, and remember, real love always starts with accepting who you are. You don't have to become smaller, quieter, or softer to be loved. You just have to be yourself and wait for someone who can meet you there. I'll see you in the next video.